Greetings my fellow fiends, it's your buddy Boogeyman Ben here for a new episode of Boogeyman Ben's Horror Zone, and today's video is a little bit different from what I typically do here on the Horror Zone channel. Typically around this time of year I try to do some things that are maybe reminiscent of, reminiscing about past times. Maybe it could be in a movie that affected me, or just reminiscing about the year and just what it meant to me. Last year I did one on Batman Returns, which isn't a horror film, but it does have some, scary moments in it. It was fun talking about that film. Didn't fit into the horror genre, which I try to keep this channel focused on. And today's video is going to be something that's even more disconnected from horror. Today I want to talk about my grandfather, Henry Ottaviano. He passed away back in 2011, right before Thanksgiving. It was on the 14th of November. He was 96 years old. A great man, someone that really was a big influence to me on movies. This was my father's dad. My grandmother, my mom's mom, is still alive and with us. She's 99. She's the other influence. Now, where she was the influence with me on horror films, my father's dad was really into action movies. He loved those kinds of films, and so a lot of my memories of loving the stuff that I still live to this day come from summers I spent with him and my grandmother in Manteca. We would rent movies all the time. He took me to see Rambo First Blood Part 2. Now, I hadn't seen First Blood, but I got to go see that one. I was 11 when that movie came out, but that was like an experience in itself. But he loved Stallone, and he took me to see Rambo 3. He took me to see Platoon, of all movies. One series that he was really big into and that we would watch on TV all the time, cable TV, was the Rocky franchise. Now, Rocky 3 was the one that was pretty much in heavy rotation back in the early to mid 80s when I was growing up, when I was a little kid, and that would always be on HBO, so it would always be on during the summer, and we'd watch that one all the time. I don't really remember watching the first couple of Rocky films with him, but Rocky 3 was one that I watched with him all the time. And then I remember in the summer of '85, we were at an Italian event that they had, and he came up to me and started talking to me about Rocky 4 and telling me that Apollo Creed was going to be killed in Rocky 4. And it was just so crazy that my grandfather knew about this. Or, now we have so much information. We can look up anything we want. But he knew about this like months before the movie came out. And I just always remember that. And he was really just big into these films. And I know he would love the Creed films that have come out. I know he would have gone to see them with me. So what I thought I'd do today to sort of pay a little tribute to my grandfather and just how much I miss him and how much our relationship and the closeness and the connection that we came together on with regards to pop culture, and specifically action movies and Sylvester Stallone. I thought I would do a countdown of the Rocky franchise. So I'm not going to go into reviews. I'm just going to talk about what I like, what I don't like, and talk about all 8 films if you count Creed 1 and Creed 2. Now, I did see Creed 2 a couple weeks ago. Wanted to see it opening weekend, but opening week, I didn't get a chance to see it then. But I have all the other films in the franchise with me. So I'm just going to go through and give you my picks from least favorite to favorite. And I hope everyone enjoys this, and this is a tribute to my grandfather, and I hope he's looking down and watching this as well. Please stay tuned. So starting with number 8, it should be no surprise because this is most people's least favorite film in the franchise. That's Rocky 5. The issues that I had with Rocky 5 may seem kind of petty initially. One of the biggest issues I had was Robert, the son of Sylvester Stallone, who was played by Sage Stallone in this film, the late Sage Stallone. I had a problem with him being so much older in this film than he was in Rocky 4. That was like a big problem. Like, he was like, I mean, I might be spitballing here, but he was like, I'm going to say between 7 and 9 in Rocky 4. And then in this, he's about 13. So it was just like, I just thought it was kind of weird that he grew up so much when this movie begins days after the end of Rocky 4. The other thing, I don't know what it was about Sylvester Stallone's acting in this film. I love him in pretty much everything I've seen him in, but for some reason I felt like he was trying too hard to be like Rocky was in the first couple of films. And that could have been because of the storyline where, he had brain damage from the fight with Drago. But I don't know, it just didn't come off believable for me. And I hate saying that because I love Stallone, but For some reason, his acting really bothered me in this film. And the other character I didn't really care for was Tommy Gunn, played by the late Tommy Morrison. I don't know what it was about him. I didn't feel that connection between him and Stallone that we were supposed to. We're supposed to be, you know, rooting for this guy until he turns on Rocky at the end, towards the end of the film, and I just really didn't care for that character at all. So that was another big sort of minus against this. But I think the direction was good. I think it was nice seeing John G. Avildsen come back and direct this film. It was his first time directing a Rocky film since the original. And there's some nice moments between Sylvester Stallone and his late son Sage. I thought they had a good dynamic together. Talia Shire, Burt Young, Tony Burton, the late Tony Burton, was very minimal in this film, but everybody did a great job with what they were given. For 16 years, this was the end of the Rocky franchise. So I think we've gotten some great films since then, so this one isn't as bad as it used to be. It's not such a horrible blemish on a once great franchise. Number 7 for me is going to go to Rocky 3. Like I said, when I was a kid, this one was in heavy rotation on HBO, and my grandfather and I watched it a lot. Over the years, though, it hasn't really, it's not one I revisit very much. Nothing against it. I think it's still a great film. I think Clubber Lang is still a great, villain, if you want to call him that, towards Rocky Balboa. The beating that Rocky gets from Clubber Lang, that is such a heartbreaking fight, and then Mickey's passing immediately after is still a tremendous blow. I like the training with him and Apollo. There's really nothing bad about this film. I mean, all these films that are coming after Rocky V I love. It's just not one that I revisit very often. And I think the final fight in this is awesome, and Stallone did a great job writing and directing this. Number 6 for me is going to be Rocky II. This one would probably have been on the lower end of things a long time ago, but I've watched this film so much more in recent years, and I really love the overall story of this. Of course, Stallone took over directing reins from John G. Avildsen for this film because no one else wanted to direct it, and I think he does a great job. It really is, you know, it's almost like Halloween and Halloween 2. It'd make this one long movie with the original Rocky in this film, and just showing the after effect of not only what Rocky is going through, having, you know, stood toe-to-toe with Apollo Creed, the champion, after the fight, where he tries to sort of just, you know, go on with his life, and that he's constantly, you know, like the hard times that he endures while he's trying to build his life with Adrian, who's now pregnant with their son, and, you know, that he just can't get a break. And then you also see Apollo's side of things, where people are now not looking at him in the light that they once were, because Rocky gave him a run for his money. So I thought that dynamic, you know, just sort of getting beaten down by life. There's some things about this film that I can really relate to, about hard times and just sort of getting through them. And I think the final fight in this between Apollo and Rocky is one of the best of the franchise. I absolutely love it. Number 5 for me is going to be Creed 2. It's a fantastic film. It's a really terrific, I almost look at it like a sequel to Rocky 4. I think Michael B. Jordan does a great job in the film, as does Sylvester Stallone coming back as Rocky. I think he was terrific in it. Somebody I've always loved was Dolph Lundgren coming back as Ivan Drago. I thought he was terrific. Just seeing like where this, again, very similar, very reminiscent of Rocky 2, where you see the after effects of that fight from the original film on Apollo Creed. Now you're seeing, you know, 33 years after Rocky beat him in Rocky 4, what that has done to Ivan Drago, and how the rejection by his country for losing that fight, what that anger has done to him, and how he has passed that on to his son Victor Drago. The first fight between Creed and Victor, that is like a brutal, hardcore fight. I mean, you felt every punch in that fight, and it was beautifully done by both actors. But yeah, I love the training in this. There was so many great things in this film. Didn't quite get me as much as the first Creed, but still a terrific film. Okay, number 4 for me is going to go to Rocky Balboa. This was a film that I never thought would happen. Really is an impactful film and a very emotional film. You're seeing a very beaten down Rocky Balboa. Adrian's gone. He doesn't have that support anymore. His son and him are estranged. It's just him and Paulie. He has a little restaurant named after his wife. And he just reminisces about the good old days. And there's an opportunity that he has to, you know, take on champion Mason Dixon. After a virtual fight shows that in his prime, Rocky Balboa would have taken down Mason Dixon. And I just thought it was really terrific performance by Stallone. The speech that he gives about life beating you down is one that I love. I absolutely love that, because I feel like that sometimes, and it's something I always go to when I'm feeling down on my luck. And just that, you have to hit back harder than life will hit you, because it's always going to try to beat you down. And I know I'm not quoting it perfectly there, but that message, it always rings loud and clear for me, and I absolutely love it. Very emotional film, one of the best films in the franchise. It just absolutely blows me away every time I watch it. Number 3 on my list is going to go to the original Rocky. I just love what Rocky's character is like. Just how somebody that's an everyman, down on his luck kind of person has the opportunity to do something great. And I just love the whole overall story of this film and all of the performances in it. It's a very emotional film. It's one that is just always going to stand the test of time as one of the greatest boxing films ever made. Number 2 on my list is going to go to Creed. Like Rocky Balboa, I was surprised because I felt like that movie put a perfect bow on the franchise. I was kind of like, really? Do they really want to milk this cow anymore? Because they went out on top after Rocky V just kind of killed the franchise. And holy shit, this movie blew me away. Not only from the amazing performance by Michael B. Jordan as Adonis Creed, but Stallone deliver coming back as Balboa. How he didn't get the award for Best Supporting Actor for this, I have no idea. Just love how Rocky is now taking on the role of Mickey and mentoring Adonis. He's looking to win his own title and has that drive like his father. And then just the relationship between him and Rocky, and how, Rocky is still, carrying on the burden of guilt of Apollo dying and now mentoring his son. I mean, it was just an amazing film, and I never get tired of watching it. And then number 1 for me in the Rocky franchise, and that is Rocky IV. There's just something about this film that I never get tired of. There's the music, it's the action, the nemesis of Ivan Drago, the death of Apollo Creed. There's so much in this film that just, it still speaks to me. I love every moment of this film, as insane and over the top as it gets. And the final fight between Ivan Drago and Rocky Balboa is still my favorite. And it's one of my favorite films of all time, and it's my favorite film of the Rocky franchise, and I don't think anything's ever going to unseat it. So that is it. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching this. Like I said, I know it's very different for the Horror Zone, but it's something I wanted to do. And my grandfather was probably one of the most influential people in my life. He was such a kind man. He was always good to me, and I miss him terribly. I just wanted to do something to pay tribute to that fantastic relationship I had growing up that I'm very grateful for having. Hope everyone is having a nice holiday. Stay tuned for some terrific horror-related content that I'll have coming up real soon. Take it easy. Stay scared as always. Peace. I have a Patreon page if everybody wants to help support me. The link is down below. And if you do help support me, Dracula here will get more treats, and Dracula really loves his treats. So any support that you can give me would be very, very much appreciated. Right, Drac?